Hey guys, my name is Benjamin. I'm with the Music Academy, where our mission is to make music simple. And today we're going to be talking about that term that gets thrown around all the time and people have all sorts of different definitions for it. It's music theory. So what is music theory and how can we actually define it? Well, there's a lot of different ways that it's been defined, but I like Andrew Huang's definition of music theory, and he defines music theory as the language behind music. So essentially, learning music theory is like learning the language of music. So once you're fluent in music theory, you'll be able to play music effortlessly, just like you can speak English effortlessly. Now, how do we begin to effortlessly speak music? Well, what we're going to do is go to the piano, because the piano is constructed in a way where it helps you visualize music theory. So coming to the keyboard, the first thing you have to understand about music theory is that it's based on numbers. Okay, so it's 7 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it starts again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it goes all the way up the keyboard. So these 7 notes make up what's called a major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And the major scale is the foundation for basically all music. Now, this specific major scale is the C major scale, or the key of C, because it starts on the key C, which is always going to be right before the 2 black notes. So we've got 2 black notes, 3 black notes, 2 black notes. The C is always going to be right before the 2 black notes. And so when we start on the C, we just walk up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we've got 1 again, and that makes up your C major scale. Now, what's really important to know for music theory is the pattern of the major scale. So the pattern of the major scale is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Now, to explain exactly what I mean, the whole and half are saying what is the interval between 2 notes. So an interval is the distance between 2 notes, right? So if we're going from 1 to 2, we're saying this is a whole step because you're skipping over 1 note and going to the 2 note. And then again, from the 2 to the 3, you have to skip over a note, making it a whole step. And then from the 3 to the 4, you don't skip over a note, which makes it a half step. And then from the 4 to the 5, you have to skip over the note, which makes it a whole step. From the 5 to the 6, you have to skip over a note, which makes it another whole step. From the 6 to the 7, you have to skip over another note, which makes it another whole step. And then from the 7 back to the 1, you don't skip a note, which makes it a half step. So again, the pattern of the major scale is start, and then whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And then that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Cool. Now, it's important to note that the pattern of the major scale will never change. This will always be the same pattern. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. But you can start the pattern on a different note. So let's say we're starting the pattern on the D now instead of the C. So if we're starting on the D, now we still need to use that same pattern. So we've got a whole step, so we need to skip a note and go to the E. Now we need to do another whole step. So in this case, we're going to skip over the F and go to the F sharp. Cool, so now we're using some black notes, and then now we've got to do a half step. So you're not going to skip a note, which brings us to the G. And then we've got to do a whole step, so you're going to skip another note, which brings us to the A. We're going to do another whole step, so you're going to skip another note, which brings us to the B. And then you're going to skip one more note, and in this case, you're going to skip a white note and go to the black note. And then a half step, so you don't skip a note, which brings us back to the D. So the key of D, or the D major scale, is now starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So in the key of D, we actually have 2 black notes. So now let's go back to the C major scale. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So now we need to recognize that each note of the scale has a chord that corresponds to it. So the 1 note has a chord that corresponds to it, and that's 1, 3, 5. And this is the 1 chord. Then the 2 note has a chord that corresponds to it, and it's 2, 4, 6. and that's the 2 chord. And then all we have to do to find the rest of the chords is just keep walking up. So now we've got the 3 chord, which is 3, 5, 7, the 4 chord, which is 4, 6, 1, the 5 chord, which is 5, 7, 2, the 6 chord, which is 6, 1, 3, the 7 chord, which is 7, 2, 4, and then the 1 chord, again, which is 1, 3, 5, and then keep going up, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So now you know all the notes of the key of C, and you know all of the chords of the key of C. Now what's cool about this is that once you understand the chords of the major scale, you can play virtually any of your favorite songs because almost every song just uses those 7 chords. So to show you an example, let's do the song Lean on Me by Bill Withers. So in this song we have the chord progression 1, 4, 1, 3, 5. So we've got 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to the 1, and then to the 3, 2, 3, 5. And then the chord progression is going to change just a little bit to 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 1. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Right, so you can see how now that I know the chords of the major scale, I can very easily play some of my favorite songs using those chords. So that was in the key of C, or the C major scale, but what's cool about this is that I can also play that song in any of the other keys. So let's do the key of D like we learned earlier. So if you remember, we've got the D now starting on the 1, so that's the 1, and then the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So in the key of D, we have those 2 black keys. So now what's cool is we can find the chords of the key of D and then play this same song now in a new key. So first let's find the chords. So remember that the 1 chord is the 1, 3, and 5. So we've got 1, 3, and 5, and that makes up the 1 chord in the key of D. The 2 chord, 2, 4, 6. The 3 chord, 3, 5, 7. So we've got 2 black notes there because the 3 and the 7 are both sharped in the key of D. And then the 4 chord, which is the G chord, or the 4, 6, 1. And then the 5 chord, 5, 7, 2, which is your A chord. The 6 chord, which is 6, 1, 3. Don't forget about your pinky needing to sharp that. And then the 7 chord, 7, 4, 2. And then back to your 1 chord, and this is the key of D. So now we know the chords of the key of D, and I'll do that again really quick. So 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5, 6, 7, 1. So again, we can use those same chords to now play the same song, but in a new key. So with the same chord progression, 1, 4, 1, 3, 5, and then 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. So we're gonna do a 1, and then 2, 3, 4, back to the 1, and then to the 3, 4, 5, and then 1, to the 4, and then back to the 1, 4, 5, and back to the 1. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So now again, let's contrast that sound to the key of C again. So going back to the key of C, same chord progression, 1, 4, 1, 3, 5, and then 1, 4, 1, 5, 1. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So you can hear how for this song, if I was to choose what key I wanted to play it in, I would probably pick C because it's not quite as high for my voice, and so it sounds a little better in my register. But if I really wanted to belt it out and make it just sound big and boisterous, then I could play it in the key of C. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Cool. So you can really see how when you play the same song in different keys, it can change the register that you're singing it in, and it might sound better or worse depending on the key that you pick. So what's really cool about this, guys, is that once you actually begin to understand music theory, you'll be able to play virtually all your favorite songs in a bunch of different keys and really just understand the language of music. All right, guys, that's it for today. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at team@themusic.academy. And if you're interested in learning more, we have a 6-month piano course that's designed to not only help you learn how to play piano, but to really understand the language behind music and how that applies to piano so that you can actually become a well-rounded musician. So if that's you, go ahead and click the link in the description below, and then I'll see you soon. Peace.